I bet you have a word that you use as a crutch. Don't tell me. You don't have to. Don't try to hide that you don't. Don't try to hide the fact that you have a word that you use when you don't know what to say. You have a phrase that you can put in that can convey what you're thinking, even though and when you can't fully explain yourself. It's no shock, everyone has them. I see some people also talk about how we should eliminate these words from our vocabulary, from our overall presence, and from how we speak to improve where we are in life and to get to where we want to be in life. I'd say that that's true, but in some ways, I don't think it is. First things first, if you're watching this video right now, you have those crutch words in your head, you have those filler words in your mind. I have them in my mind. I'll try to remember a few of them to talk about today. But count how many times you think I use a filler word, a crutch word, or some other phrase that I don't need to. When you count that throughout this talk, comment down that number and we can have a nice little debate about how many times I use that word or that form of words and if that number is true. How many times have you been stuck in a conversation where some person is talking and talking and talking and you might not be fully interested in it, but you nod along. You say, yeah. You keep going. You do that. We're all people who have done that, so don't feel wrong for that. How many times have you tried to talk and convey something that you want to say? When you try this, the right words that can come to mind might not exactly come to mind. And sometimes you have those times where that thought doesn't come to fruition. What do you put in that place? You put a crutch word, you put a filler word. The likes. I used to say like a lot, like a very lot. It was to the point where my dad would point it out when I would stumble upon that, where I'd say like too many times. It wasn't in a chastising way, but that was a case that I've had. I know I have a few words that I use as crutches when I don't know entirely what I am going to say. In some cases, weather. Weather as in W-H-E-T-H-E-R, not weather as in look at the weather outside. I use that a lot in my short-term reels. I do them on YouTube. I like to think of, when I'm formulating my thoughts, how to script out these talks. And I don't try to script them. I try to think on the fly and to the best of my abilities in the moment, convey those thoughts and those feelings. They don't always come out that way. I still try to do it. When I do these videos here, there are times where I'm talking for minimum 10, 12 minutes, if not upwards of 20 plus minutes. I have my crutch words. I have my filler words when I don't know what to say. More often than not, that's one for me. I feel at times that actually could be another one. At times or sometimes. That happens naturally. You might not say more often than not as often as I do. You might not say like as many times as someone could say. You might not say whether in the case of whether it's this, that, or this. Those are examples of my crutches. Now that that's out of the way for me, I think you know what that crutch word is for you. Maybe it could be similar to how my dad would point out when I said the like that many times. You could be joked about, made fun of, in, I'd hope, a light manner, not too harshly. For that word, for that crutch that you have, for that filler word. You might have an individual one. There are others, as I mentioned, the nodding and the yeah. That is commonplace around the world. Some people like to talk and talk and talk. And we want to show them some form of courtesy that we're still listening. That's why we do that. That's not a bad thing. That said, it can be a crutch that we lean on, a filler word that isn't needed. I've had times recently where, besides doing these and besides working in sports, I've gotten into script writing. That's been a little habit that I have my stretches where I'm doing that a few times a week. If I have a story that's really in my head, every night I'm working on it. And in that, I've come to see, I see the style, and as we look back through our work, whether we're talking, whether we're writing, this is how we find these crutch words and these filler words. It's because, in some way, they have become a part of our styles. It could be a specific phrase. I've given a few examples already. It could be a type of writing. I'm someone, for example, who loves the quippy style of comedy. I wouldn't say it's old in the same way that some might think of that word in that tense, in that connotation. But for a film example, Singin' in the Rain, one of my favorite films of all time. If you watch, and when you watch this film, if you haven't, I recommend you do. It's on Max, I believe. The comedy is very quippy. There's little time where someone doesn't get the joke. Some of my favorite jokes in that movie go by like that. They snap by. They're not the punchline where the aha is evoked. They're the lines where right after it is said, I have to make sure that I don't completely lose myself, as I did the first time I watched this movie in high school, because I thought it was so funny. I didn't want to laugh too loud, so I settled for the instead of letting my natural reaction come through, because that's how we all are, one way or another. We might not want to show off who we are to that level, to that degree, in fear of judgment from other people. People will say and think what they want to say and think about us. It's not our job to police them and please them to the point where that doesn't happen. It will happen regardless of who it is. Back to the topic at hand. On the flip side of this argument of crutch words and filler words and the people who say we need to eliminate them altogether from our speech, I'd like to point out that in the sense of how we're finding our voice and we're finding our styles, these words actually are a part of us. For some, it's those phrases. The more often than not, the weathers. An easy example. Look at John Bernthal. Let me tell you something. He says that in just about every movie he's in. I really wanted him, and he said that he was going to say it in the Odyssey. I don't remember him saying it. I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day a few weeks back. I couldn't catch when he said it. It wasn't explicitly in there, but I think he put it in. You could look at it from that perspective of, let me tell you something. Could that be a crutch? Do you think that that's a crutch? Or what if it's a catchphrase? I'd say that can be a small dilemma that we fall through. Do we see those filler words and those crutches as extra words? Or do we see them as part of us, as part of who we are? And how we can express ourselves in a variety of settings, in a variety of conversations. Another point to that argument is, what if every single person eliminated all the filler words, all the crutch words that were there in their minds, on the tips of their tongues to say? What if everyone had none of them? Wouldn't we all just sound the same? Wouldn't we all speak the same? Yes, our voice tones might be different. We might have different levels of tone. Our voices might be higher, they might be lower. They might sound a bit more accented and be spoken with a little more of an accent because we might be speaking in a different language. I know how to talk in Spanish to some degree. I took Spanish classes all throughout school. I got a minor in it in college. Yes, I can say something in Spanish and sound pretty native. That's one thing, even though my vocab isn't there. I hold a little bit higher in my head that I can sound the part, even if I don't know the parts to say. What if these crutch words and what if these filler words, as we again get back on this topic at hand, what if they're a piece of who we are? What if these words can be our catchphrases? Whether they naturally come together, whether they're something we commit to and discover in the moment and decide that that's who we will be and that's who we want to be going forward. What if that's what these crutch words and filler words are? I didn't put this together and describe all of this with a clear answer in mind, a clear takeaway, as to saying, if you want to stop using these crutch words and these filler words, here's what you have to do. I'm no expert in that. I am a human being. I'm still learning what these words are for me. If there's anything that I would say in the world of you existing, in the world of, in some cases, doing videos like this on social media, be on the lookout for those words. Be on the lookout for the crutch words and the filler words that you do, that you say constantly, that in some cases could be a part of your style. Every time you click send, you click upload, and you put yourself out there in the world. When you notice them, I would jot them down. After you jot them down and you see how often you use the phrase or not, how often you put that expression into words. Look at the times you use this expression or this series of expressions. When did you say it? Why did you say it? Then, after you've done all of that, decide whether or not you want to cut down on it, or whether you take ownership about the fact that that's really you. We can spend our entire lives uplifting certain qualities and stowing away other qualities that we don't deem to be seen as worthy of us or necessary of us. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. There are people who will judge us regardless of what we do, regardless of if we decide to do something more or do something less. All I'm saying is, inside, you will know if it's you. You will know if this expression, this series of words, this word, is you. If it's you, I say keep doing it. Bonus content. We got a new mic set up. Got this for my birthday. I was doing some tests with it. I didn't have the long video last week because my mic equipment didn't quite work. I did a test run this time. I was getting audio, so that being said, I believe this did work. If you are hearing me say these words, I can assure you that yes, that was indeed the case. Crutch words, filler words. You'll have a lot of time to decide what they are, when they come about for you, and what to do about them. Especially if you're watching this and you're in school. School is now back in session. Summer is winding down, and it has been winding down for some time, but now you're going back to school. This could be a time for you to look into this, to decide what these words are for you, what these expressions are for you, and if they convey you. You might have work. You might have something to work on. You might decide to keep it still and steady. Be aware that this can happen. And once you're aware of that, you can decide in the moment, you can decide after some thought and some reflection, then you can decide when everything comes together who you are exactly. Bye now.